Unplug your cleaning routine with the Ryobi 18-volt 1 Plus cordless cleaning lineup. From the soap-dispensing telescoping power scrubber to the advanced stick vacuum, Ryobi has a solution for every cleaning task. One battery powers over 300 products, giving you the power to do more, exclusively at the Home Depot.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2, Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network. Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you. Coming up in about 30 minutes, we will have VSiN's own Adam Burke stop by. We'll get into, yes, some of his thoughts on the MLB coming up tonight, but also big picture, awards markets, all that good stuff.
Sure.
Should be fun.
We have, again, a very strong Patrick Corbin trend. Very, very excited to share with the world, including you. I don't think you have it.
I don't know this.
I was going to send it to you, but I didn't want to ruin it.
Okay, that's exciting. I'm always down for a good surprise here. We also have a new segment that will be debuting in the next 15 minutes called
Hell Yeah, Brother.
Hell Yeah, Brother. So that's going to be fun as we get into a little bit more of the NFL schedule with the full 272 games officially released yesterday. But where we're going to kick things off here is in the NBA, because we do have one more big game coming up tonight. Nuggets Thunder going head-to-head, this one in Denver. The spread has come down a bit from 5 to 4.5. There's some 4s out there as well. Early thoughts?
Early thoughts are Oklahoma City or pass. Market, I think, is in a little bit of a disagreement with myself. We saw that 5 seemed to be kind of the point of, no, we think that's a little too high, because when the 5s appeared, they then disappeared. Circa is down to 4, minus 115 on the favorite side. So we kind of have like our battle lines drawn, I think, a little bit here. 4, but shaded to the favorite side, and 5 being kind of the peak where this number might move around. So don't expect too much movement. I think it would have happened already. Look, here's the thing. Outside of playing the zigzag, as we have discussed, team, the straight-up loser, which now at this point, again, 32-18-1 against the spread. Last night you went 1-1. If you did it. So I think we're at like 2 straight days now where it's like 1-1. No, the other day I think it was 0-2. Regardless, it's been successful. But I can't get away from, I wrote down some key numbers for you because I wanted to get them accurate. So Denver in the regular season, Stormy, 3-point frequency, or the percentage of their attempts that came from beyond the arc, 32.1%. They were dead last in the NBA. In this series, that is up to 40.3%. So again, they were being forced to take 3-point shots. They took over 40 in the game the other day. Just overall 3-point attempts, 31.9 attempts per game in the regular season for Denver. 30th, again, last in the NBA in terms of 3-point attempts per game in the regular season. In this series, they're averaging 40 flat. So again, just being forced to take more perimeter shots. This is, I think, the big one. Frequency of shots within 4 feet of the basket or at the rim. Denver led the NBA in terms of frequency. They took 37.5% of their attempts in the regular season at the rim, most in the NBA, and by a decent amount, too. In this series, 26% of their shots have come within 4 feet of the basket. They can't get to the rim at all. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City has done such a good job throughout these 5 games. They have not been consistent on offense. They have been night and day. We got some shooting numbers for them when they hit the road especially. But from beyond the arc, they've been all over the place. But the one thing they've been doing consistently is playing strong defense. Through the course of 5 games, Denver has an offensive rating of 105. It's abysmal. In the half court, they have an offensive rating of 88. It's abysmal. So my whole point here is the consistent has been that Denver hasn't been able to score. Why should I trust that they're going to do it again here in this game against Oklahoma City? Just because they're at home and they're desperate. And I think that that is going to be the driving force in the potential for Oklahoma City to win this game and end the series tonight.
Does that thought process lend you one way or another at all toward the total where we sit 217.5? You don't like Denver's offensive rating, but defensively they have been able to do some good things.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to go under, right? I mean, the market kind of seems to be heading in that direction. Some spots opened up as high. I think DraftKings opened 221.5 here the other day, got to as low as 214.5. We've seen a little bit of buyback, but most spots opened in the range of 219.5 and came down to this 217, 217.5 range. I would lean toward, again, this game hitting the under. Outside of what we just talked about with Denver offensively, and that has been the case at home, like they haven't been consistent on offense, the Oklahoma City Thunder, as I put it in my notes here, like, will they wake up on the road? Some of the splits for you here, and this is total postseason. This isn't just this series.
Okay.
Away from home, they have a 46.6% effective field goal percentage compared to 57.2 at home. In terms of their shot percentage at the rim, it dips by about 1.5, like 67% to 65. But the big bugaboo for Oklahoma City, their three-point shooting away from home. 37.9% from beyond the arc in home playoff games so far this year. 26.9% away from home. So again, similar question, similar statement. Why would we trust that Oklahoma City is going to show up on offense consistently here? It would very much lean toward me going under the total, just because every point of evidence shows Thunder struggle away from home. They don't shoot the ball well away from home. The secondary pieces have been all over the place as well. And Denver, throughout the entirety of the series, no matter where it has taken place, has had trouble on offense.
Okay, so if it's OKC or pass and
under or pass,
lean toward the under, yes. With that in mind, as we turn gears to the prop market here, Nikola Jokic, his points prop tonight set at 28.5. Had a monster game last game, obviously, goes over 40 again. The Nuggets are just 2-5 when Jokic has 40-plus in his playoff career. Do we think Jokic has a big day? And if so, is that another reason why you might like OKC?
Yeah, I mean, so evidence would kind of tell us. It's funny. It was pointed out on Twitter the other day when he was playing the whole fourth quarter, and it's just like anecdotal evidence, but it's like, I feel like every time Jokic plays the entirety of a fourth quarter, it's just a big desperation move, and they end up losing those games. Yeah,
correct.
And it's the same thing that you're kind of alluding to here. When Denver needs Jokic, or when Jokic has these high-scoring games, and that's been the theme throughout his career. It's because maybe the ancillary pieces aren't doing what they're supposed to do, right? Higher scoring means fewer assists. The assists haven't really been there for him throughout this entire series because the guys around him are performing. And like there's things to back this up. Look, Michael Porter Jr. isn't healthy. Look at the numbers for him in this series. He's averaging 7 points and 6 rebounds on 28% shooting from the floor. He's been awful. Russell Westbrook has turned back into a pumpkin. He's averaging 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists in this series on 35% shooting from the floor. He's shooting 20% from three. So outside of Jamal Murray, who has done pretty well, and Aaron Gordon, they're not really getting the support they need from these other pieces. And as you and I have hit on, and we hit on this when they lost the game the other day, there is not that much depth for Denver. They're running a 6.5-man rotation, and 2 of the guys that we just mentioned are abysmal from an offensive standpoint. So I think, to your point, you could probably feel comfortable maybe betting Jokic over, because I think he's going to take this thing over. He's probably going to play 40-plus minutes again because it's an elimination game at home, and you need him to do that. So I think that you're probably going to have the opportunity to potentially go over. But I would approach it from the standpoint of, I think I'd rather play over points and rebounds or over points as opposed to points, rebounds, and assists, just because of the way the other pieces have been playing. If those assist opportunities don't fall, you might get burned with a bigger number there, and maybe just go points and rebounds instead.
For your 2 stars, Jokic, again, 28.5 that number. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 30.5 the point prop for him. But as you kind of went through in general, prop-wise or players to target, was there anyone else that stood out that you thought could be worth a look in a game like this?
I was curious. So like to the point of Porter, under half an assist at like plus 120. Okay. Again, like every single one of his opportunities are going to be catch and shoot attempts or just one off. Like he's not generally, if the ball finds Michael Porter Jr., a shot attempt will follow, not a pass. And so the assist opportunities might not be there. Haven't been in the series again. He's averaging 0.6 assists per game. So at a plus price, under a half assist, especially in a game where Jokic might have the ball in his hands more, higher usage rate for both him and Jamal Murray and even Aaron Gordon. That might be something worth looking at there. And then, again, just to use the term of the low-hanging fruit, the market has adjusted a little bit here. I think points, rebounds, and assists for Westbrook are floating around 15.5, 16.5 at last look. Maybe the role player angle back at home, he's more comfortable. That might show here a little bit. But I think the numbers might shrink in terms of minutes, and you might just see Adelman and the staff really lean on the starters to potentially extend this series out, and that cuts into Westbrook's performance. It cuts into his minutes, and you can go under a 15.5, 16.5 for points, rebounds, and assists.
What did surprise me, because he's led all players in bench points this postseason, was the poor shooting from 3 from him in this series. 5 of 25, 22 of which have been wide open.
I know. I mean, you couldn't do that against the Clippers, by the way.
Right. Follow up on Westbrook, though. The stuff that came out where...
That was weird.
So weird. And so Gordon's being asked in post-game about stuff, and he starts calling out...
Shelburne. It was Ramona
Shelburne for her article.
Yeah.
But he says that, like, it's lies, but that's after he says that was a private conversation that was between 2 teammates. So is it a lie, or is it not? And what?
I think, so for those who didn't see it, Ramona Shelburne wrote a piece about Russell Westbrook, and essentially about just the volatility of Westbrook. And in the article... Aaron Gordon is quoted this, calling him immature, I think.
But it wasn't him. It was what she had written was that she saw a disagreement between Aaron Gordon and him, right. And then an unnamed player called him immature.
There we go. So, I don't know. Maybe he's saying that the quote was a lie, but like the private conversation he's referring to was the disagreement between him and Russ. I don't know. It's never really great to be in a playoff series and for that to kind of be the thing following, right, a performance like that. Denver generally handles these things pretty well, so I don't think it's like a big distraction, but I think it just goes to show, like, look, man, like this team's up against it. They're very thin. They're not very deep. And, like, when you're kind of up against it in that perspective, little things do stick out, and I think that's probably one of them.
Like his wife or girlfriend, whatever it was, even goes on social media afterwards and be like, you shame on yourself, Ramona Shelfer, and all this stuff. And I was like, it didn't sound like, it sounded like it happened.
Right.
So,
by the way, as we're talking, as I mentioned, Circa was at 4 minus 115. They just went to 4.5 minus 115 on the favorite side. So,
okay, there we go. And while we were on this totals stuff as well for this game, it is interesting how the percentages can differ between a big national public book like DraftKings and what we have here at Circa, because as far as that total goes at 217.5, we see 68% of the bets and 60% of the handle on the under. Meanwhile, DraftKings at that same number, 26% of the bets are on that under.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't really feel too strong as you can go. I still have one more play in this killer Keppers contest we have up on the site. The second round, I have been getting my face kicked in because I've been all over the place. So I'll use the Thunder tonight in the contest, but we'll see. Look, I will say this, the non-data, non-analytic thing, sometimes it pays to have the best player in the world. And that is Nikola Jokic, as we saw. You loved the call on the pirouetting three. Joker's wild. The guy's great.
So good.
And would you really be that shocked if he comes in and drops 45 again and they end up winning this game by the skin of their teeth, the fourth game 7?
And we will again have those best bets rounded out at the very end of the show today. Reminder, though, if you want access to the best bets, the betting splits, the daily articles, the unlimited video access, becoming a VSiN Pro subscriber is the way to do it. VSiN.com/subscribe right now and use our promo code PRO. That'll help you lock in an extra 2 months to your yearly subscription, 14 months of VSiN Pro for our discounted $199 price. Again, check it out at VSiN.com/subscribe. We'll be right back. Hell yeah, brother.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The Preakness Stakes is coming up this weekend. Bet it with First Bet and get rewarded. New customers use the promo code VSiN200. That'll score you a 20% rebate on all wagers your first 60 days up to $200. That's win or lose. You're getting paid back. Download the First Bet app or visit first.com/bet. Again, use that promo code VSiN200 to get started today. That's first.com/bet. VSiN200. Earlier in hour one, we broke down a little bit of the Preakness as well as the Black Eyed Susan coming up this weekend with Mike Somich. If you missed any of the show, remember you can always download and subscribe to Money Moves, the podcast, wherever you download your podcast. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll have VSiN's own Adam Burke join us, talk a little Major League Baseball, and we're going to start here getting into a little bit more of the NFL schedule release and how that has impacted some of our views on some teams coming into this year. With a new little angle here for a segment, we have already picked up just our 2 weeks working together, JVT, on a few phrases and JVT-isms and Stormy-isms that we're going to roll with here for this one. So basically, each of us have come up with a statement in regards to a different NFL team and their schedule. And if we agree, it's a hell yeah, brother, for you. And if it's a disagree, that's a no for me, dog.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep, it works for me. All right, so you want me to go first? Or you want to
do
go
it.
first?
You
All
can
right.
roll.
So we'll start with this one. I think this is an easy one. I think we should look to bet the Titans over their win total after the season begins. The Titans, I think, are going to be a really interesting team. If you look at the way their schedule breaks down, after we have now seen the way this thing's going to start, the front end, I think, presents some very solid challenges, right? You're on the road against Denver. You're home versus the Rams. Divisional game back-to-back against the Colts and then the Texans. But I will direct you to the beginning of November for the Tennessee Titans. When you come back, this is going to be over a month Stormy-free, assuming, rookie quarterback at home. They don't leave Nashville for the entire month of November. They're home against the Chargers. They get a bye week, and then they get 3 straight home games, Houston, Seattle, and Jacksonville. All of November will be at home for the Tennessee Titans. Once this season starts, it's going to be very difficult. But once you get to that home game against the Chargers and post-bye, I think you can really start to see some continuity build. And the back end of the schedule does present some really good opportunities for them, including home game against the Seahawks, Jags, Browns, Jags twice including that, Saints, I think this is a team that could get off to a rough start. You get a watered-down win total, and then you'd make that rookie improvement after a bye week where they get a month at home. That's insane.
Well, and it's not like their win total is particularly high to begin with either at 5.5. So if you get that down to a 4.5 or something, I like that angle. Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, there we go. See?
I like that angle.
Easy.
Okay, I'm going to go to Detroit.
Okay.
That the Lions fans and people that have interest in betting on Detroit this year should be scared of this road schedule. Only 3 outdoor games for them all of last season. This year, they have 7. Jared Goff, and I know he kind of brought this narrative down a little bit last season, but for his career, averages 10 points fewer outdoors from a QBR standpoint than he does indoors. On the road in general, last year's combined win percentage of these teams, 667. Green Bay, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, those 4 all in the first 6 weeks of the season. Washington, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, the Rams, Vikings, Bears. So 7 of their 9 road opponents made the playoffs last year. The 2 that didn't are the Bengals and Bears. Let's add into the mix new coordinators, new assistant coaches, a team that had so many wins last year. The expectations are through the roof. I would be afraid of this schedule, and I know that the win total's 10.5, and people are going to think that they can still go over that, and maybe they can, but that's a daunting stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give you a hell yeah, brother, on that one because, look, here's the thing, too. I admit that this is probably unfair before I say this, but I have likened this situation to that of Ed Orgeron over at LSU. I think Dan Campbell's a better head coach than Ed Orgeron, but remember, after they won the championship, and Dave Aranda is gone, and who's the offense coordinator for the Buffalo Bills that used to be their offense coordinator? Either way, he was gone, their offense coordinator. My mind escapes me. Regardless, top key assistants left for LSU, completely fell apart for Eddie O. I think that might be the same thing here with Detroit. I mean, you give the 2 guys who are calling both offense and defense a ton of credit, and I think Campbell deserves some credit for getting this team going in the right direction. But there's a reality where Goff, without Ben Johnson, takes a step back, that this defense takes a small step back as well, and the reality of facing the 2 teams you hit the note that I was going to make. Cincinnati and Chicago are probably going to be better, and you got to go play both of them on the road too. So I would definitely agree.
Oh, and which I think maybe could potentially open things up in the NFC North. If you look at those division odds, Lions are the plus 160 favorite here, but Packers plus 260, Vikings 4-1, Bears 4-1. I know you hate Minnesota, but some I think reasonable numbers in that division.
I like that. I know you hate Minnesota. They do not hate Minnesota. By the way, Joe Brady was the name that was escaping me.
Sounds like you hate
him. Yeah,
but I mean, it was a similar thing with the Eagles 2 years ago, right? When they had to redo their coordinators after making a Super Bowl. Okay, where do you want to go next?
All right, I think you're going to like this. I'm not trying to curry favor with you or your partner here, but Panthers are going over 6.5 wins this year.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Look,
hell yeah, brother.
I have and always will be a Bryce Young believer. Matt Humans tried to sit here last football season every week and try to make fun of me, and I did it like Tim Murray did it as well. I was very pro-Panther down the stretch. I think we freak out way too much about these guys in the early portions of their career. Bryce Young turned a corner, it would seem. But the other part of this is this schedule, especially at the beginning, is very manageable for Carolina. Games against the Jags, Cardinals, Falcons, Patriots, Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets, like all the way through week 7. Those are very winnable opportunities for the Carolina Panthers. Likely coin flips. We know you get 2 spots against the New Orleans Saints, who should be very poor. You get opponents like the Seahawks on the schedule. Who knows what the Buccaneers are playing for at the end of the year. They're going to be a formidable opponent, but to look at this schedule and say that they can't win 7 or more games, I think it is a plausible scenario, especially if Bryce Young continues to take steps forward that he did last year. And they retooled the defense. I know the stat, right? They gave it the most points the team had ever given up in a season or whatever it was. I think that this team's improved. They made the right moves defensively, and I believe in the mighty, tiny Bryce Young. Let's go.
He's been in the gym, guys. So I got to say, looking at the back end of their schedule, and I just pulled it back up to kind of refresh my memory for how things transpired last year, because once he came back into that starting role, he really did start to figure it out. And I know they only won, 2 games the last 7 of the year, but they took Kansas City to the wire, should have won that game. Same thing with Tampa Bay in overtime. They almost beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly that goes on to win a Super Bowl this past year. And then they beat Arizona and Atlanta at the end of the year. Like, they were playing much better football at the end. And I think Bryce Young and him kind of figuring it out was a big part of that.
The last 9 games of the regular season for Bryce Young, completed only 61% of his passes, but was the 6th highest graded quarterback by PFF standards, had 24 of their, as they call it, big-time throws farther down the field in tight windows, among the leaders over that stretch in that metric. A turnover-worthy play rate of only 2%, took care of the football, showed improvements. And I think Canales can actually be pretty good, right? Again, you don't want to freak out too much about a rough start, but I think overall, with the schedule and everything else, I will be pro-Panthers once again this year.
Continuity for him, too, finally. Okay, how about this one? The team social media schedule release videos are too freaking long. Yeah. I am all for people and teams getting creative. I even said all week how excited I was for some of these. I can't watch 32 5+ minute long videos on each of these, where half of them, you guys do know that the point of this is to actually show me the schedule, right? Because how long does it take me to actually see the opponents when they're being played? And sometimes they're not even being described like in the order with which they're coming. The Panthers one, well, I'll go with that specifically. They finally showed the schedule, and it's a sign that's on the ground, and it's crooked. You can't even read it. So I was very frustrated yesterday. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, sure, John Gruden, you're funny. Your unboxing videos are funny. I don't need that for 11 minutes.
Yeah, so I will give you a hell yeah, brother. I was also very disappointed in you yesterday as you tweeted out for some very easy social media engagement. Send me your favorites. Very disappointed. We
People
don't need to do that.
didn't even send me any good ones.
You are beyond that. I also noticed that every response was not what you asked, which I thought was hilarious.
I was very frustrated.
It's like nobody listened there, didn't even read what you asked.
No, two people sent me them, and they were like videos that I had already seen that I didn't like.
But I will say I would agree with you, and maybe it's the old man in me. I just went to every team's PR site or PR Twitter account and just looked at the schedules. I watched like 2 videos. I don't need all that.
The Chargers, everybody's like up their butt saying that it's the greatest thing in this entire world. And like, maybe I'm just not a Minecraft. I don't know much about Minecraft. I don't really care about it, but I think it was
I think you're speaking to the wrong audience because I think our audience totally knows what Minecraft is.
I just didn't think it was that special. Personally. Yeah. You see the Colts had to take theirs down?
Yeah, what was that?
Something to do with Microsoft. And then also there was an offensive thing about Tyreek Hill getting arrested by the Coast Guard. And so
okay. Like all right. Yeah. I mean,
Tyreek Hill said it was funny, but they still removed it.
It was one of those things where I saw all the responses of like, this is terrible, but I didn't see the actual impetus of all of the responses. So I was like, all right.
What are you going to do? Okay, I do have one more serious one, though, if you want to do that.
Sure, of course.
Is Dallas going to miss the playoffs again?
It's a no for me, Doug.
Finally, we got one.
I'm a pro Dallas guy. Dak Prescott finished second in MVP voting 2 years ago. They have skill position talent. I don't know if Brian Schottenheimer is going to be a good head coach. He might just be a puppet for Jerry Jones. Who knows? But I think there's enough talent here. I also think the people that are up in arms about a lot of Dallas Cowboys games, folks, they have regularly won like 10-plus games. Yeah, they've actually been a somewhat successful franchise, and I think they're going to be in contention for the playoffs again.
When Dak Prescott has been healthy, they've been automatic to win 9 or more games. And when I initially saw that the win total was 7.5, my gut reaction was, for sure, let's go over that. But then looking at the back end of their schedule and the way that it has played out, with the rest disadvantages.
Sure.
Monday night, short week against Philly, even shorter week against the Chiefs, on the road against Detroit. Like, it doesn't look easy the back end of the year. So, and the first 4 weeks aren't a cakewalk either, with the exception of the Giants in week 2. More on this a little bit later, but when we come back, Adam Burke of VSiN joining us next. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Money Moves on a Thursday. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel with you as we welcome in now to the desk live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Adam Burke, VSiN.com Managing Editor, writing all kinds of good stuff up on the website right now, not only with the NFL schedule release, but the MLB daily stuff. List goes on and on. What's going on, Adam?
Yeah, what's going on? I'm going to be screwed up for the remainder of this week now because I usually come in on Tuesdays, but I got bumped for Dustin Sweetelson, so now I'm here on Thursday.
Whoa.
That was some shade at you, Ortega.
Oh my gosh!
I really
fired.
like that. That's where that happened. Ortega told us you just couldn't make it.
This. Like,
no,
life comes at you fast, Adam.
Apologies.
Did Dustin even do a spot on Tuesday?
He did, yes.
He showed up.
All right, well, at least there's that.
He was here.
I'm lazy.
We'll get to baseball in a moment. But let's start with the NFL because we were just talking a lot about the schedule release last segment. Did you watch any of the videos? Did you like any?
I have a dissenting opinion to you. I actually really, really like the Chargers video because there's like 22 or 23 different Easter eggs in there that are pretty funny. The Browns were very on brand in that their schedule release was effing terrible, much like the team and the organization are. So that was very on brand.
Did they just do the meme thing, right? Or they just posted
No,
it?
they had a little
they
elf.
had like the creepy elf, and maybe it was a reference to something, and I don't get.
Someone tried to send me that one to say it was one of the good ones, and I was like,
horrible.
no.
It was awful. I mean, the Chargers always do well. So, I mean, they're the offseason champions.
I don't think
of the schedule
anything can outdo what the Titans did 2 years ago.
No, absolutely not. No.
But
we're all chasing that dragon, baby. All right, really quick. Actual winners, losers. How much, the general question here would be, how much does actually getting the order of games change anything from a win total standpoint? Some teams had their juice moved a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were some mild movements out there. Specifically, there were some movements in terms of the alt win total market, which I think, which is something I'm going to write a feature about in our upcoming NFL betting guide.
What team he's going to mention.
That'll come out July 1st. But there's some alt win total, considerations that we've seen here because, some schedules set up a lot better than others. I know you mentioned, some of the travel situations for some of the teams. Those are a really big deal. Minnesota, like both of their games overseas are considered away games. So they still get their full allotment of home games this season. So that's a really big positive for them. So, yeah, I mean, there are things that maybe move the needle a little bit. But to Stormy's point, while we were during the break, like we already knew who everybody was playing. We just needed the order of it, which maybe shifts things in terms of a projected spread, a point and a half at most.
What about the New England Patriots?
What about them?
Did you write about them?
Nope.
Dang, never mind.
Nope. Nothing about the Patriots.
I thought I read something about the Patriots alt win total getting moved a little bit.
Oh, it got moved a little bit.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that was something I sent over to Bill for the newsletter this morning.
There we go. See?
Yeah.
See? Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't think they were a winner or a loser. I think it was just some action came in on them.
Ben Fox put it out that the Patriots last year in games they were favored at this point in the year, 0. Games they were favored at this point in the year for next year, 11. So it's one of these things is not like the other here in year 2 and this way the schedule shook out.
I would very much, if you go through the schedule, it's probably a bunch of like 1 to 3 point spreads.
Right.
So it's going to be a ton of coin flips. But like I've been trying to press upon Stormy the importance of, I believe the Patriots are going to be greatly improved this year. And with the easiness of their schedule, I believe that like I was pitching to her 10 plus wins the other day, or the alternate win total of 10.5 over. And I think that was one of the things you guys have mentioned in the newsletter that got a little bit of action because I do think there's a reality in which the improvements are very vast. And they might not be as good as a real 10 or 11 win team, but they could have the potential of meeting those expectations.
Well, and that's one of those things. I mean, I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but I will run them again here. Like I said, I'm going to do a feature on this in our NFL betting guide of how many teams actually fall, plus or minus a win of their win total. A lot of times the majority of the league is going to be 2.5 games, 2.5 games away from what their win total line was. So, yeah, I mean, these projections are nice and all of that, but, in actuality, sure, there's sometimes an injury that forces a team to fall well short of expectations or something like that. But, for me, I mean, look, I also think that one team, it's not really being talked about a whole lot, I don't think, as a schedule winner. But I think the Denver Broncos are a winner here, partially because of how their schedule shook out, but also because the Chiefs have a miserable schedule. They play 8 standalone games. It's a very, very quirky schedule. They play different weeknights. They play on both Thanksgiving and Christmas. They've obviously got Monday night games as well, which kind of leaves them with some short weeks and stuff like that. But I think that things set up really, really well for Denver here. One of their road games, a neutral site game in London. That's against the Jets. They fly over from Philadelphia. It's not like they're flying from Denver. They opted not to take the bye, but they play 4 of their next 5 games at home after their London game. And the 1 game on the road, 2 home games, road game, 2 home games again. So I think Denver's schedule sets up really, really, really nice for them. And also, they play Jacksonville at home in December, January. They play the Chargers at home in December, January. So, I think that the Broncos have a really, really strong schedule set up here, and their defense might be the best in the NFL. So I think the Broncos to win the AFC West is going to be a ticket that I have heading into the season.
Do you think because of all those road games they have, 4 on the road in their first 6 weeks of the season, do you think that maybe they have a little bit of trouble on the road and you could potentially get a better number on that? Or no? Just a genuine curiosity with a young quarterback and so many road games early.
So it's possible, but also what's the old adage, right? Defense travels.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the best part of their team to be sure. You would like, as the Broncos, you would like to have home games early on in the season, right? Teams are not fully into game shape. Guys don't have their cardio, fully pinned down, stuff like that. So when you get a chance to get those teams in elevation, that historically was a really good trend for the Broncos.
It was
for
like
a
every
long
year,
time.
3-1 start because they would play 3 or 4 at home.
But actually, of their last 8 home games, and I actually checked this in the Killer Sports database, of their last 8 home games in weeks 1 or 2, 0-5-3 against the spread. Now, they've certainly won some of those games straight up, but it hasn't been as big of a deal for them. I don't know if maybe teams are just prepping for it more, something like that. But I do think that the Broncos, with how strong their defense is, with how they can win games with their defense early on in the season, then the schedule gets a little bit better for them. And also, I think the schedule for some of their division foes isn't as strong. I really like the situation that the Broncos found themselves in yesterday when the schedule came out.
I think you were sitting in the back. Did you hear my pitch on the Titans? How important is it that they're going to have this stretch where they have a month where they will not leave home at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really big thing. That's definitely an important thing. And honestly, while I don't have a strong opinion on the Titans, there's another team that's kind of like that, and it's Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay, late in the season, they play a bunch of games at home. They play one game against Carolina on the road in Charlotte. Their other road game late in the season is against Miami. So they don't even have to leave the state of Florida except for that 1 week over like the final 6-7 weeks of the regular season.
Wow.
So that's something that's really, really beneficial for them. Also, a Dolphins team that I don't think is going to be all that good. I kind of like an alt season win total under on Miami. You finish with Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers. I think the Buccaneers really strengthened their position to win the NFC South because of how the schedule kind of played out for them.
They're going to lose both to the Panthers, though, right, Stormy?
Yeah, there we go. The league loves, by the way, to have Miami be cold in December. Away games against the Jets, Steelers, and Patriots there late. The Bills were another one that stood out to me just because of how good we anticipate them being, how weak the division could likely be, even with the Patriots taking a step up. I don't think anybody's expecting much from the Jets or from the Dolphins. Their four most challenging games on paper, all at home: Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia. They all get in Buffalo, and they play just one game outside of the Eastern time zone all year.
Yeah, and the Browns are actually another team that plays a bunch of games in the Eastern time zone. They're going to have a bunch of 1 o'clock games here. So maybe that's something that benefits Cleveland from not going 0-17. Maybe they go 2-15 instead. But as far as Buffalo goes, so the early part of the schedule, I think, is pretty generous. They play 4 of their first 5 games at home. But that being said, I mean, you kind of want to be at home in December and January if you're Buffalo. A lot of their road games come after the bye, and the home games that they do have late in the year, Pittsburgh, New England, and Cleveland, teams that are accustomed to playing in cold weather, bad weather. Now, of course, Cleveland is going to be a pushover for most teams throughout the course of the season. But if New England does live up to some of the expectations placed on them by Mr. Jonathan Von Tobel, and if the Steelers are pretty decent, then that's a situation where I think Buffalo loses a little bit of that late season advantage, where if it's in the 20s or in the 30s, those teams are used to playing in that already. So, I do think that's one of the few benefits, for Miami, is that they play in Buffalo early on. But, I think Miami's schedule is really, really difficult. But, yeah, I don't think that Buffalo actually got that favorable of a draw. But, again, when you talk about how much the schedule actually matters, Buffalo's really damn good anyway. Yep. So, it doesn't really make that big of a difference for them. To me, I think it's more of a difference maker for teams that are sort of in the middle, right? It can be something that can kind of push them over or, kind of push them a little bit lower than expectations.
I thought, last note here real quick, the difference in opinion from the betting market to the league's belief, how the Vikings got 7 standalone indoor primetime games, and yet their win total is 6.5. Like I was telling her, we just don't know what J.J. McCarthy is, but the league seems to believe that team's still going to be very good.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, too, right? The way that the schedule makers kind of set this thing up, trying to put those important games in prime time. For example, the Commanders have 8 standalone games. So the league is obviously very, very, very high on Jaden Daniels. Understandably so. Also, they were a very exciting team last year because they were all offense and not much defense. So, yeah, that is a really interesting thing with the Vikings and something that I didn't really consider. Maybe it's a sign they could be better than expectations, or the league's going to have some egg on its face.
Yes.
Okay, Adam's going to stick around for the next segment. We dole out our best bets, also some score updates for you in Major League Baseball. When we come back, 3 games in action, 3 more still to come later on this evening. We'll be right back. More Money Moves after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
3 games in action right now in Major League Baseball. The Reds were a big minus 240 favorite, handling business so far through 5 against the White Sox, up 5-0. The Twins as a short dog, 3-0 lead right now at the end of 4 against the Orioles. And then the Nats just got on the board, it looks like, as the Braves have a 4-1 lead in that one. So 3 games in action in MLB, 3 more still to come, which we will get to in a moment with our best bets. But as we welcome you back here to Money Moves alongside Adam Burke and Jonathan Von Tobel, I did have one last question for you, Adam, about the NFL schedule release, because you have an article up on VSiN.com right now that kind of dives into the Circa Survivor element of it all. And while it's great for us as viewers that we have some potentially really fun and exciting games that we could watch on those holidays, from a Survivor standpoint, not so fun.
Yeah, so first of all, the Survivor and Million guarantees will be announced next Thursday on Follow the Money, Thursday, May 22nd. So we don't know the guarantees yet, but now that the NFL schedule is out, we can start plotting out, at least those who are going to be in Survivor. We can start plotting out, kind of our thoughts, right? I'll put together an article, which is my blueprint for the 18 weeks, but secondly, 20 weeks in the Circa contest, because Thanksgiving and Christmas wind up being their own weeks. That's the biggest wrinkle that's in the Circa Survivor. Well, here's the problem for this year. When you look at the 3 games on Thanksgiving plus Black Friday, they'll be looped together as 1 week for the Circa Survivor. And then the Christmas games, the Lions, Chiefs, and Cowboys all play on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. So when you think about the holiday weeks in the Circa Survivor, or your Survivor pool that may have the same rules, you want to have as many of these teams as possible, right? You have a very small amount of teams you can take, 8 for Thanksgiving, 6 for Christmas, and you want to try to have as many of those teams available as possible, because what if a team's starting quarterback is hurt? What if there's cluster injuries at the wide receiver position? Maybe you think, I'm going to take this team, but maybe Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. You don't want to take that team anymore. You don't want to take the Chiefs anymore. So you want to have as many of these teams available as possible. But it's a really big problem that the Lions, Cowboys, and Chiefs play on both of the holidays. So that's going to make things really, really interesting this year in Circa Survivor, and something that everybody in the contest needs to plan for. I get it. You may think it's a very daunting task to get to week 13, and it kind of is. But if you get there, you want to be well positioned. So it's a big, big deal here, and I think it'll be talked about a lot in the lead up to the Survivor contest.
All right. Baseball?
Do it.
Right. We've been teasing it. Yesterday was a big day. It was Patrick Corbin Day yesterday. Many people try to fade my guy Corbin. And it has not worked out so far this year, Adam. And I believe there is a strong trend that we maybe have ignored that we should probably bring to the light.
So I think we should call this the Dave Ross trend for Patrick Corbin.
What?
All right.
I'm so confused right now.
So good.
So X user, Twitter user, whatever you want to call it, @Hal2Hell.
You'll love this.
This popped up in my timeline this morning. I immediately sent it over to JVT. So Patrick Corbin, during the Obama administration, ERA 4.14. During Trump's first term as president, ERA of 3.59. During Biden's administration, Corbin's ERA 5.71.
Oof, rough.
And now, during Trump Part 2, 2.95 ERA for Patrick Corbin.
Wow.
Yeah,
Get that man a red hat.
That's right.
So Patrick Corbin is making his pitching great again when Trump is in the Oval Office.
That's right. What can he do?
Right? I don't know.
So we should have known then.
Correct.
Coming into the season, we should have gotten ahead of it. So that's an opportunity missed by us.
I also think if you go back and look, the day that Trump was impeached, I think Corbin got shelled for like 7 rounds. So it's been strong. Good job, Patrick Corbin.
A 5.71 ERA under Biden. I mean, that's rough for Patrick Corbin.
Inflation was rough.
Very rough. And keep in mind, too, he was pitching for the Washington Nationals.
That's very true. He was up close.
Yeah, right? Now that he's in Texas.
Yep.
With Trump's second
whole
presidency.
new world.
Yep,
ERA
absolutely.
under 3.
So fade Patrick Corbin over the next 3 years at your own risk. All right, so let's go to today. Speaking of the state of Texas, we got a banger tonight between the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. Best Bets brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. I bet under 3.5 for the first 5. I went with the low-hanging fruit. I think you went.
I bet under 7.5 for the full game.
Okay.
So
are we fools here? Because I didn't really care. I was like, you know what? I'll take a loss with DeGrom and Hunter Brown on the hill here today. If that thing goes over in the first 5, then I would assume you had the same mentality.
Yeah, I can't blame either one of you guys. This is a phenomenal pitching matchup, to say the least. Look, I'm a nerd when it comes to baseball, right? I like to use Baseball Savant a lot. I have a certain feeling.
That's Stormy's favorite website.
When I see Hunter Brown's
it's my new fave.
Baseball Savant profile.
I love when things are color-coded.
It's, yes.
A lot of red on that Hunter Brown page.
A lot of red on both of them, but a lot of red on Hunter Brown. And look, I mean, I split my bet here. So I took full game with Houston, and I also took first 5 with Houston. So if DeGrom is better than Hunter Brown, I won't be totally shocked because DeGrom seems to have kind of tapped into the fountain of youth for this season. But Hunter Brown is really, really good. Now, the difference between the two is Hunter Brown's ground ball rate is higher. He's only given up one home run, or not one barrel, but one home run so far this season. Barrel rate is lower than DeGrom's. Hard hit percentage is lower than DeGrom's. I think there's a greater chance that Houston hits a mistake off of DeGrom, hits a home run, couple doubles, something like that. So I think Brown has a slight edge there. So I took the first 5 with Houston, but I only did a half unit on that and then a half unit on the full game because for Texas, their top reliever this season, Chris Martin, just had an MRI on his elbow yesterday or 2 days ago. And their closer, Luke Jackson, who hasn't been any good anyway, he took a comebacker off the hand. So both of those guys are probably unavailable tonight, and they've been the closer and the primary setup guy. So I think Houston could have a small bullpen advantage. So again, it's not a very high variance game with a total of 7, 2 really good starting pitchers on the mound. So that was another reason why I split my bet. Half unit on first 5 for Houston, half unit full game.
I feel like, so is that the only game that you bet of the 3 that are coming up tonight? Because I know for the 2 of us it was, and I just think it's funny that all of our action is in different ways on the same game.
Yeah, I mean, the options were pretty slim, right? I mean, Zach Littell and Kevin Gausman in the other one, or one of the afternoon game up there north of the border, where Zach Littell's not been good this year, but part of that is the fact that the Rays are playing outside at home now. That's something that has impacted Ryan Pepio, who pitched well yesterday. I was on the Rays. Unfortunately, they couldn't score off of Chris Bassett. But then the other one, Osvaldo Bido and Matt Sauer. I mean, there's absolutely nothing I could do with the Dodgers having a full-fledged bullpen game. Like, they don't even have, like, a bulk guy stretched out for this game. So there's absolutely nothing I could do with that one.
Reminder, everybody, with these best bets presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN, you can get the GBank Visa Signature Card today, where most credit cards treat sportsbooks and gaming transactions as cash advances. Even when you put your money on the card, GBank treats those gaming transactions like purchases. So you're saving 3 to 5% on cash advance fees right there. Also with GBank, in addition to the 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, you get 2% cashback on all other eligible purchases. Apply now at vsin.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. We also have one more game in the NBA coming up tonight.
Real quick, before we move off baseball, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because I wanted to zoom out with this Astros and Rangers game if we could, and pair it with the news yesterday that Bryce Miller went on the injured list. So how big is this series overall in the American League West? Because Seattle has been slipping and falling, and if you can win this series, either of these teams, you're in the driver's seat in a pretty mediocre division.
Well, and a very smart guy who works for us here at VSiN actually wrote a piece earlier in the week about why it was a good time to buy the Texas Rangers to win the American League West.
You guys are just gassing each other up a little too much for my liking.
A little bit.
Go on.
I mean, that's what friends do. Sorry.
Yeah,
Stormy.
right?
Jeez.
We just got each other's backs.
Unlike you, it tears me down every day.
You wrote a very good piece about that and why it was a good time to do that. And, I mean, with Bryce Miller now going on the IL, where Logan Gilbert's already there, George Kirby is not back yet. The Mariners are kind of overperforming offensively, I think. Yeah, this is a mammoth series. And also, Houston's offense is really not very good. So this is a really big series, honestly, I think, for Texas specifically. And by the way, how big of an underdog number do you need on Tuesday to back Patrick Corbin at Yankee Stadium against Max Fried, given what we know now about his performance with Trump as president?
I think it'd probably lay up to 250 with Patrick Corbin.
Lay up to 250?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to just reverse run line that game? All right, good. I like it.
That's right.
All right, do you have anything in OKC for the people? You're our NBA guy. Help us out.
No, not really. I very much lean toward the Thunder. We'll see what because the market's been moving around. So I would say if we get to the point where the market shows some support for OKC, we get to like -4. I don't think we're going to get to 3.5, but very much on the side of the Thunder. And
it's like lean Thunder, lean under.
Stormy,
yes.
I got one for it. What do you think of the Golden Knights in Game 6?
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. What did I do to you?
I will say I will use the Thunder in the contest thing today. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Back out.
You know what you did.
Golden Knights, breaking my heart. I didn't do anything.
You complained about GVT and I
said you guys love each other too much, and I'm just alone on an island over here on my own.
How's that elbow feeling?
Not well. So don't make fun of me for that either.
Right? You got bruised for the team.
I said yesterday, I said that in confidence that my elbow still hurt. I said that in confidence. And look what you did to me.
Honestly, I've been hit by so many pucks in my life. Sure. I get it. I understand where she's coming from.
The Vegas Golden Knights.
They always find a place where there's no equipment when you're playing. Yeah. And when you don't have any equipment on at all, it's going to find a bone.
VGK had more shots on Stormy than they did the rest of the series.
This is my nightmare. Anyways, keep it locked right here on VSiN, even though we're done, and thank God for that. Coming up after this, Prop Points with Nick Whalen and Jeff Erickson, plus fantasy football expert Jim Coventry is going to be on the show as they break down the schedule. Have a great day, everybody. I hope mine gets better after this.